Hello there, and welcome back to another video edition of the Common Constitutionalist weekly podcast, and I am the Common Constitutionalist, as if you didn't know. Well, maybe if you're tuning in for the first time, hi there, I'm the Common Constitutionalist. That's my, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. So anyway, today we're going to talk about another single topic. This kind of comes to us from the Blaze. It's actually from a Blaze podcast, audio podcast. And this is about one of my favorite topics, immigration, and how screwed up immigration still is in this country. So we'll talk about that today on the Common Constitutionalist.
You are listening?
No, you limey. They're not listening. They're watching.
The Common Constitutionalist, broadcasting from an undisclosed location, free from the prying eyes of establishment black helicopters.
So welcome back. The other day, Pat Gray from the Blaze, if you've listened to Glenn Beck's program, if you've listened to or watched Pat and Stu, if you have anything to do with the Blaze or Glenn Beck's circle of friends, Pat Gray's his best friend, Glenn Beck's best friend. And he also is he's a big radio guy. He's been in radio for years and years and years. And now he's got his own show, Pat Gray Unleashed. Frankly, to be honest with you, he's on from noon to 3, I believe. And it's the exact same time that Rush Limbaugh is on. So obviously, one would think you would get crushed. And what I started doing is I started listening to Rush at my office from noon to 3, which is when I can listen. And then the following morning, if I didn't have anything to listen to or whatever, if I had some downtime, I would listen to Pat Gray Unleashed podcast that was recorded, and then I could just go online and listen to it. But I got to tell you, lately, I've been starting to listen to Pat Gray Unleashed live because I'm getting, as much as I like Rush, I'm just getting very tired of, it seems like every fifth word that Rush utters is the word Trump. If it isn't about Trump, it's not news. Well, there's a million things going on there. There's a million things going on out there every freaking day that don't have to do with President Trump. And it's Trump, 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 Trump. One of these days, I'm gonna take an hour. I'm gonna sit back and close my eyes and just tick off a clicker of how many times I hear Rush say Trump in just the first hour, and it'll probably be about 100. I'm frankly getting tired of it. I want Trump to succeed as long as it's the Trump of the campaign. I want him to succeed with his initiatives that he laid out during the campaign. If he had already done that, it would have been great, and we would have been well on our way to recovery and getting back to America. But unfortunately, it just seems like Rush just continues to carry the water for this guy, and it's completely unnecessary, and I'm just getting tired of listening to it. So I'll start with Rush, and the minute he starts with the Trump, 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 Trump train, I just switch it off and go to Pat Gray. Because at least I'll get some varied news from Pat Gray and a good sense of humor and whatever. At any rate, the other day, digression right off of the bat. Didn't even start the podcast, I'm already digressing. Pathetic. The other day, Pat Gray at the Blaze, he had Jonathon Dunne on his program. And Dunne also does a podcast for the Blaze. He's all these guys, the Blaze is located in Texas and whatnot. Well, Jonathon Dunne isn't located in Texas. He's actually from Ireland. So, who's Jonathon Dunne? He's a guy from Ireland that does a podcast for the Blaze. That's all we pretty much know about him. And what does he have to do with immigration and Dreamers? Well, it turns out he has a lot to do with immigration and the freaking Dreamers. Most people have never heard of Dunne, and the ones who have heard him know him by his Irish accent. And I can't do an Irish accent, so I doubt I'll even attempt, because it'll be pathetic. Despite his love of America, Dunne is not an American, like I said. He is an Irishman. But he says he's had a 25-year love affair with the country of America, the idea of America. Jonathon said it started for him quite a while back. When he was 7 years old, he had an opportunity to come to America, to go to Clearwater, Florida, and visit a great aunt of his for about 2 weeks or so. And he said that this basically changed his life. He says you can't imagine the uplifting of the spirit coming from Ireland, where the weather is cold and rainy and just crappy all over the place and all the time. And you get plunked down at 7 years old in Clearwater, Florida, where it's sunny and it's warm, and he says that the women are beautiful, and there's great food, and the food is a big deal, because Irish food, English food, Scottish food, it stinks. It's just awful. It's basically boiled everything. And he remembers specifically how good American food was as opposed to Irish food. Now, I'm going to go ahead and digress again, because I have a story about this type of food too, because we have the same type of traditional New England foods that have come over from England and Ireland and have planted its roots here in New England, unfortunately. And the stuff is just awful. When I first moved to New England from Atlanta, I lived in an apartment on the second floor, and I remember specifically, like it was yesterday, I remember walking, I entered, I unlocked the door, pulled in the entryway, started walking up the stairs, and as I started walking up the stairs, I smelled something. It was just putrid, absolutely putrid, and every step I took upward, it got a little more concentrated and a little more nasty smelling. By the time I got up to the top of the stairs, and my apartment door was to the left, and my neighbor was a nice couple, lived across the hallway to the right. And it was, the concentration was just, it smelled like somebody threw up in the hallway. That's what it smelled like. So rather than go into my apartment, I investigated, and I started walking down the hallway, and as the further away I walked from my door, from the entry, the more diluted the smell got. So I knew that it couldn't be down there. So I turned around, came back, and sure enough, the concentration started building, and I couldn't see. I looked down, I couldn't see any vomit or anything, and so I just said, to heck with this, and unlocked my door, walked in, and basically the smell subsided. Then I forgot that I left something in my car. So I went to my door, I opened the door, and at the same time my neighbor across the hall was opening his door, and out wafted the smell of vomit. It was indescribably putrid. I couldn't believe what I was smelling. And I said, I asked him whether he, vaguely asked him whether he had, like, what did you do, murder your wife and she's decomposing in your bedroom or something? What are you making in there? And he said it was New England boiled dinner, which is like corned beef and cabbage boiled, and it was just awful, awful smelling. And he said it was, my neighbor said it was an acquired taste, of which I've lived up in New England for a long time now, and I've never acquired it. It was just, you can't get past the smell. It's just unbelievable. But again, I digress. So anyway, that's Irish food. And I looked up some more Irish food. There's this thing called black pudding. Now, if you go to a restaurant and you order your meal and then you order pudding, if they bring you pudding that looks black, what are you going to do? I'm sending that sucker back, because I don't know anything that looks like black pudding. But I don't think black pudding's necessarily black. It's just nasty. The stuff's made of barley, and it has pig's blood in it. A pudding with pig's blood. And I'm not sure if it's actually a pudding or a soup or what it is, but they call it black pudding, and it's just nasty. So if you go from that to, you go to Clearwater and maybe you have McDonald's or Kentucky Fried Chicken or something like that, man, you gotta be in heaven. Are you kidding me, man? So anyway, That's blood pudding. And again, you got to wonder, if I may further digress, you have to wonder, who thinks of this kind of stuff? It's like one Irishman, hey Angus, let's make some pudding. Okay, great. What do we want to put in it? Let's put some pig's blood in it. That'll be great. Who freaking does that? It's like the first time lobster. Everybody loves it. At least I absolutely love lobster. It's actually, I love drawn butter, and lobster is a good vehicle to get the butter into your mouth. But I love lobster. But when you look at the lobster, who was the first schmo that looked down in the ocean and said, look, there's a giant hard-shell spider walking across the ocean floor. That looks appetizing. And in a couple of 100 years, it'll be a sought-after delicacy. Yeah, that guy was thinking out of the box. And if I may go way out on a limb, slave owners in the South, on the coast, they used to feed, because it was supposed to be garbage, basically. Lobsters were throwaways. They were caught in the nets and whatnot. So they would give the slaves the lobsters to eat. Imagine that. But I believe that that's a fact. All right, so anyway, that's enough of the food talk from the Food Network here. Back to the story. So he says for over 25 years he's loved this country. Listening to him, this guy, Jonathon Dunne, is passionate about America. He's more passionate about America than most Americans are, that's for sure. And he obviously thinks America is the best place on earth, and he's a smart guy, because it is the best place on earth. And this happens a lot when you talk to immigrants, legal immigrants that have paid their dues, have waited their time, and have come here legally, and they've busted their hump, and they've done everything that's required of them to get here and to stay here, and they love this country, and they can't wait to be U.S. citizens, and they can't wait to be Americans. And it's not like, and so when you hear immigrants are what make the country great, it isn't really. Citizens make the country great. But these kind of legal immigrants like Jonathon Dunne that really, really want to be here, and they really want to be American, and they want to learn about American history, and they love America, and they love the idea and ideals of America. These are the kind of guys that make America great, not the dreamers. The guys that are just plunked here for no reason, no fault of their own. And it's even more so than a lot of U.S. citizens that basically have known nothing but America. So they it's just they take everything, the freedoms and the freedom to move about without show me your papers type of thing, or passports or whatever it is, and you can come and go as you please for the most part. We take that kind of stuff for granted. All the freedoms that we have in this glorious country. The fact that the Irish, one of the reasons why they had to eat virtually everything was that they're on a tiny little island in the North Atlantic Sea. Well, we have a huge country that you could go if you were inclined to and had the money to do it. You could go mountain climbing, and then you could go skiing, and then you could go to the beach, and then you could go surfing all in the same week and never leave the country. What the hell? What a great country. I mean, it's just wonderful. Who wouldn't want to be in America? At any rate, he says as an adult, he has also come to fall in love with the idea and ideals of America, and that it's different from anywhere else in the world. And he says that growing up in Ireland, he was always told that things are the way they are, period. That's just the way they are, son, period. And at the time, he couldn't refute those claims, but after being exposed to the idea of America, to America itself, that he's able to better explain socialism, why it doesn't work, and so he can answer the question that things don't always have to be the way they are. But with socialism and communism, fascism, whatever, they spread the misery equally. They don't spread the bounty equally. They spread the misery equally. And so if you're born in a certain station, the likelihood is you're going to stay in that station. And this is what they mean by when his mom told him, that basically, or adults told him growing up, that things are the way they are, and they're going to stay that way, period. That's the way it works. I think we'll take a quick break here. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Common Constitutionalist. Let the truth be known.
All right, we are back. Now, getting back to the immigration thing and whatnot, he explained about the Ireland and their socialist utopia, and that he also got into socialized medicine. And he said that they've got the wonderful utopia of socialized medicine, soon to be single payer. They don't quite have single payer; it's not quite there yet, but they do have socialized medicine, where the bulk of the Irish people are on the government-paid, subsidized program. All right, the public dole program, and then they have some like him who have private insurance. The problem is that the people on the public dole insurance healthcare plan, they're not getting the healthcare that they need and desire and whatever. And so they're complaining about this to the powers that be in Ireland. And they're complaining that the people with the private insurance and private healthcare get better care than the people on the public dole. Now, rather than petition their politicians to say, why don't we all go to a private system? That way we'll all have superior health care. No, they want to drag everybody, a la Bernie Sanders, Medicare for all. They want to drag everybody back into their socialist utopia and spread the misery equally. So rather than they admit it, they complain that the private system is better than the public system. Don't go for the private system, which is better, which will give you better care and more timely care and less expensive care. Go for the public system, which is more expensive and will give you less care, and it will be inferior in every way. So that's what they advocate for. It's just, but hey, there again, that's the leftist socialist mindset. But he also explains, the interesting thing is he explains, it's something that I never really thought about. I guess I realized it, but I never really thought about it in these terms. If you talk to the people in Europe, Ireland, England, Scotland, whatever, they want America to continue to have private health care. They don't want America to be a single-payer utopia like they are. And the reason is that he says that all over Europe, England, Scotland, Ireland, and whatnot, they have fundraisers all the time, GoFundMe pages all the time, where people can't get the care that they need. So they're raising funds to come to America to get their health care. And if we go single payer, Bernie care, Medicare for all, if we do that, it's going to dry up the whole system, and then they've got nowhere to go because there's nobody in America that's doing GoFundMe pages and fundraisers to go to Ireland for their health care. It's not happening. And that's the reason why. That's why these European countries want to continue to have America. They won't admit it, but they want to continue to have American health care available to them, so when they raise enough funds, they can come over here and get the proper care. Absolutely ridiculous. It's just the way it is, though. So Dunne was asked by, getting back to the actual topic that I was supposed to be talking about, which is immigration. Dunne was asked why he's not an American citizen yet. He's been coming and going to America a lot. He speaks in America, does speeches, and goes to CPAC and whatnot. Why isn't he American citizen? Why hasn't he petitioned? Why doesn't he have a visa to come here and work here? Well, it's interesting because, like I said, he does come here and speak. He'll do speeches and whatnot, but he's not allowed to be paid for it because he doesn't have a work visa. He's only allowed to take a vacation on his own dime, come over here and make a speech to people on his own dime. They can't pay for him. He's got to pay for all his room, board, everything, and plane tickets here and there. They can't pay for anything because he doesn't have a work visa, and then he flies back home to Ireland because he doesn't have one. So he said after years of hard work and putting in his time and doing all this nonsense on his own dime, He was at CPAC last year, and somebody noticed him after a speech and offered him a position. That somebody was Glenn Beck. So he thought, Dunne thought his ship had finally come in. After all this time of paying his dues and whatnot, his ship had finally come in, and he was on his way. He was going to get that work visa. He's been sponsored by Glenn Beck, so to speak. He's got a job waiting for him in Texas, and he's going to work in Texas and live in America, and it's going to be wonderful, and he's on his way to citizenship. Not quite. Dunne says he had to go through the entire immigration experience, the entire legal immigration experience, with background checks, education checks, criminal histories. They did everything short of an anal exam, and they may have done that. He just didn't happen to mention it. But they did everything. And it's amazing how thorough our government, and this just, again, this proves how amazingly thorough our government can be when they're treating, the way they treat legal immigrants. The background checks, the criminal history, the education checks, everything is checked with a fine-tooth comb, and that's how thorough our government can actually be when they give a crap. But when they don't give a crap, they turn a blind eye to the dreamers and to all the other millions upon millions of people that just stroll across the Rio Grande and just plop here, and then they're whatever, de facto amnesty, for want of a better term. He was told, this really, I couldn't believe this when he told me. I know it's true, but it's just so astonishingly sickening, I can't believe it. He was told by his immigration, because he had to hire an immigration attorney to get him through this whole process. He was told by his immigration attorney that he doesn't fit the work or education requirements to be issued a visa. According to the legal government baselines, Dunne was told he doesn't meet the minimum criteria to even apply for a visa. So he doesn't have the education, proper education requirements, and he doesn't have the proper work history to even apply for a visa. Yet these fools, these dreamers, get plopped down anywhere in the United States, get bussed by Obama to untold places. We don't have any idea who they are, where they came from. They're unvetted, they're everything, and yet they get to stay here, and he has basically, like I said, an anal exam from the immigration authorities, and he's told that he can't be here. That's so bass-ackwards, I can't even believe it, and it just ticks me off to no end. You know what? I got to take another quick break. I got to take a breath, because this kind of stuff, I've read through this before and it ticked me off, but I'm telling you, I'm on camera right now doing this stuff, and this kind of stuff just fries my blank. Be right back. I have to use some of my martial arts training to calm my chi, so to speak. Ha! Chi whiz. Uh-oh, I've been found out. Okay, so getting back to this thing, if I can calm my chi here. Pat Gray's producer interjected into this conversation, and he basically told Dunne that he should just take a boat, go to Mexico, rent himself a boat, row across the Rio Grande, get off on the shore, and just walk across into Texas, into Brownsville, and voila, you're here. And obviously Dunne said he would never do such a thing. He has principles, and he loves our nation too much to defile it. This is the kind of guy, this is a dreamer. This is a real dreamer. You want to see a picture of a real dreamer, go on the internet, Ireland, Jonathon Dunne, The Blaze, whatever. This guy is the real deal. This is the kind of guy we want in the country. All right? Here I go. I'm getting wound up again. He also explains, and this is something that needs to be said more than just a few times. He explains that 60% of our illegal immigration issues will not be solved with a wall. That 60% of illegals simply overstay their work visas. The guys that actually get their work visas because they pay off politicians or they know somebody in their own country or something like that. It's all such a scandalous scam, it's unbelievable. And somebody like this who's just a normal guy who's in love with America and the idea of America and the freedom of America and wants to be in America, no, you can't let him in. That would be wrong. Yeah, we gotta let Juan Valdez in instead. You frackin'. Basically what they do is they come here on some sort of visa, work visa or whatnot, and then the visa expires and they're supposed to fly home or take the bus home or wherever home is, they're supposed to go home. And they decide that, I don't want to leave, I'm just going to stay, and then they just disappear in the woodwork and nobody says a daggum thing about it and nobody goes looking for them. That's the deal. Because they're too busy interviewing God-fearing, good people like Jonathon Dunne and giving them an anal exam and an education background and a criminal background and every other historical background they can. They're too busy doing that. Their thorough government is too busy doing that to chase down the guy that just decided that he felt like staying. He doesn't want to become an American because he couldn't become an American now. He's illegal. He doesn't care. He just wants to be here because it's the greatest place on earth and he's probably collecting welfare and food stamps and Section 8 housing and every other daggum thing that we give away to these fools. Whew, here I go again. Oh boy. He also said something very poignant, something that everybody needs to realize. He said that despite wanting to, he does not have a fundamental right to be here. All right? Just because you land on our shore doesn't give you any right to remain here, to be here. You're an illegal immigrant, and that's the way it is. Until you do it the right way and you come in through our border legally, or you get a proper work visa that this guy's unable to get, or an education visa, and go through the process and stay here legally, you got no right, and you got just... That's the whole point about, I guess the whole point about this diatribe of mine. We don't seem to give a crap about the 20 or 30 million illegals, where they came from, their education level, their work history. None of that crap, it doesn't matter. But this guy, somebody like Dunne, and there are thousands upon thousands of God-fearing, legal, wannabe Americans, want-to-be citizens that would love to come to this country, and we would love to have you because you want to contribute and you want to be an American. You don't want to just plop your dead fanny down on a chair and collect what we can give you. You want to contribute. People like Dunne, like I said, they're the real dreamers. All the other ones are just frauds. The dreamers, the kids that came here for no fault of your own. And you know what? I want to cover that once again. Okay, so they were dragged here as children through no fault of their own. You get to the point where there's an age of reason, 16, 17, 18 years old, where you can make up your mind that right is right and wrong is wrong. Whether you're a good guy, bad guy, or whatever, you know what right is right, you know what's right, you know what's wrong. And you discover that you're illegal. You finally figure out that you've been illegal the whole time. You are obligated to get the crap out of this country. We're not obligated to keep you. Because once you figure out that you're illegal, that you've actually broken the law, then it's up to you to atone for your sin, for want of a better term, or the sins of your father and mother. Too bad for you. Get the crap out of our country. I don't care anymore. I'm just sick and tired of it. I was almost willing to be reasonable with the Dreamers and whatnot and cut them some slack to some certain extent if we got everything else we wanted. But you know what? After hearing this sad tale from Jonathon Dunne, a real wannabe patriot, a real wannabe citizen, I don't give a flying crap about the rest of you freaking illegal immigrants. Get the crap out of our country because you don't deserve to be here. You got no fundamental right to be here at all. But once again, thanks to decades of destructive liberal policies, America ends up with millions of subpar illegals with dozens of well-funded advocacy groups that are pushing and pushing and pushing them and advocating for them to stay. And the politicians listen to them because they yell the loudest. Well, unfortunately, Mr. Dunne doesn't have a voice beyond his own. He doesn't have a voice beyond some schmo like me advocating for his position. Or Pat Gray, or Glenn Beck. As powerful as Glenn Beck is, he can't get it done. It's these screaming La Raza fools. It's these other immigration attorneys, that's a crock. They should all go too. But the more I think about this kind of crap, just the angrier I get. So I think, I don't even care. Like I said, I don't care anymore about the illegal immigrants. I don't care if you're a dreamer. I don't care if you came here when you were 3 weeks old. Once you figure out and you're old enough to take care of yourself and you figure out you've been illegal all this time, it's time for you to go, get to the back of the damn line and come in. And I don't, I try my best not to swear, but this stuff, it's beyond a pet peeve of mine. This is just aggravating to all get out, where somebody like Dunne can't get in, can't even get a work visa, a temporary work visa, because he doesn't measure up. But yet some jackweed from Venezuela can waltz across the country, waltz across Mexico and into Texas and be bussed wherever, drop his children off, and they're automatically dreamers and have some right to be here. That's bullcrap. We need to do what Eisenhower did. That's what we need to do. Back in the 50s, when Ike took office, there was like 2 or 3 million illegal immigrants, and I've told this story before and I've written about it umpteen times. He got together 1,250 agents. That was all it took. And he split them up into 3 groups, and he sent them down south and out west and he started rounding up illegals. I don't care. They just break the doors down, they go into towns, and we're here, we're going to collect all the illegals, and we're going to kick them the crap out of our country. And within a year, most of them have already gone. You know what they did? They self-deported because they didn't want to get rounded up. That's what we need to do. We need to have the nuts, we need to have the stones and the chutzpah to go into these towns, into these sanctuary cities, grab these people and get them the crap out, and do it as publicly as we can possibly do it, so everybody understands that illegal immigration will not be tolerated in this country anymore. And then we can turn around and let people like this guy in who actually wants to contribute and wants to be a good American. I have had enough. I can't stand it anymore, or I'm going to have a daggum heart attack right here on my son's college campus. And I'm not going to do that. Not over illegal immigration, not over anything else. So this is the Common Constitutionalist signing off. Done. See ya.